When you confront the narcissist with this, it will make them tremble in fear for good. Imagine for a moment a high-stakes theater production where the lead actor is also the director, the scriptwriter, and the only critic allowed in the building. For the narcissist, life is this stage, and their false self is the performance of a lifetime. But there is a secret. The actor is terrified. When you finally pull back the curtain and confront a narcissist with the unvarnished truth, they don't just get angry, they tremble. In the quiet clinical halls of psychology, this is known as narcissistic injury. Because their ego is not a solid foundation, but a brittle shell, the moment you stop feeding their delusions, the shell cracks. They disappear or lash out, because without your constant applause, they have no internal sense of existence. To them, your refusal to acknowledge their greatness is not just a disagreement, it is an existential threat. The egocentric gaze and the envy trap. Narcissists inhabit a world that psychologists often describe as a hall of mirrors. Every person they meet is merely a tool used to reflect their own perceived brilliance back at them. This constant requirement to be the greatest is actually a desperate defense against a core of profound worthlessness. If you do not acknowledge their superiority, they will attempt to force it through a process called coercive control. They need you to see the world through their distorted lens, and they will use every manipulation in the book, from gaslighting to guilt tripping, to ensure that you remain a secondary character in their story. For the victim, this often results in identity erosion, where you begin to doubt your own perceptions just to keep the peace. The zero-sum game of praise. One of the quickest ways to ignite a narcissist's rage is to praise someone else in their presence. Psychologically, the narcissist views the world as a zero-sum game. If you are commending a colleague, a friend, or a partner, the narcissist hears a direct insult to their own value. They cannot hold the concept of both slash and they only understand me or them. If you elevate someone else, they feel diminished. This leads to pathological envy, where they will attempt to tear down the person you praised and force you to retract your kind words. The impact. The narcissist feels exposed as second best, which is intolerable. The victim is punished for their kindness, creating a walking on eggshells dynamic where you eventually stop celebrating others just to avoid the narcissist's fallout. The strategy. Practice observation over participation. Recognize that their jealousy is a reflection of their fragility, not the other person's lack of merit. Keep your celebrations of others independent of the narcissist's approval, establishing the safety perimeter. Before you ever consider using the weapons of honesty or confrontation, you must perform a cold, hard assessment of your situation. Psychologists often distinguish between the high-functioning / toxic narcissist and the malignant / violent narcissist. If you are dealing with someone who is manipulative and a pain in the neck, these strategies of radical honesty can be incredibly empowering. However, if the person has a history of physical aggression or is at the extreme end of the antisocial spectrum, the rules change. If you or anyone you know is at risk of physical harm, the goal is not winning. It is safety and self-preservation. For the violent narcissist, any challenge to their ego can lead to a narcissistic rage that bypasses logic and enters the realm of physical danger. Always ensure your safety net is solid before you decide to speak your mind. The secret weapon, radical honesty. If you've ever felt like you were shouting into a void while dealing with a narcissist, you aren't alone. These individuals are masters of the calculated lie. But there is something they cannot handle: radical honesty. Psychologically, the truth possesses a weight that lies cannot carry. Some experts, like Dr. David Hawkins, suggest that truth operates on a different vibrational frequency, meaning it has an objective power that cuts through the fog of manipulation. When you speak the cold, hard truth, the kind of facts that no one else has the guts to say, you disrupt the narcissist's shared fantasy. You are refusing to play the role of the enabler And that is the moment they lose their minds. When you call things exactly as they are, without sugarcoating or emotional softening, you create a state of cognitive dissonance for the narcissist. They are so used to people bending reality to fit their whims that when they meet someone who is transparent and truthful, it acts as a mirror they cannot break. They find truth tellers distressing because truth is the one thing they cannot manipulate. Even when you are silent, your commitment to the truth makes them uneasy. They sense that you see through the mask. And for someone whose entire life is built on a facade, being truly seen is the ultimate nightmare. Why it works? It strips them of their power to control the narrative. Impact on narcissist. They may decompensate or fall apart as their manipulation tactics fail to land. Impact on victim. It restores your internal locus of control. You are no longer a victim of their lies. You are a witness to the truth. Recovery strategy. Start with yourself. Be radically honest about what you are seeing and feeling. Once you stop speaking the words they want to hear and start speaking the words you know to be true, you break the psychological chains that have held you in their orbit. Facing a narcissist requires a level of self-assurance that most of us have to rebuild after years of being torn down. But remember, clarity is the first form of freedom. Once you see the man behind the curtain, the wizard is no longer scary. You are reclaiming your voice, your reality, and your life. When the narcissist is backed into a corner, the truth becomes an airless room where their lies can no longer breathe. There is no longer any space for them to hide, no more shadows to cast. If you are still struggling to grasp how potent the truth can be, remember this: the truth is always sufficient. It requires no maintenance, no elaborate scripts, and no complex impression management. It simply is. Psychologically, truth acts as an objective reality that shatters the narcissist's shared fantasy, the distorted world they've forced you to inhabit. By standing firm in what is real, you are effectively performing an act of exorcism, casting out the delusions they've used to control you. The second move that will sink them to the bottom of the ocean is the application of a healthy dose of apathy. To a narcissist, your hatred is a gift because it still means they matter. It confirms they are the protagonist of your life. But indifference is the ultimate ego death. Psychologists often point out that narcissists believe they have a divine right to treat others with disdain and contempt, a phenomenon known as narcissistic entitlement. This is the classic double standard. A rule for thee, but not for me. They expect to treat you like a self-object, a tool to be used and discarded, while receiving your undivided attention. When you flip the script and show that you are completely and utterly indifferent to their presence, their reality collapses into confusion. They do not know how to interpret a world where they are not the center of gravity. For you, this apathy is your shield. It stops the introjection of their poison and allows your nervous system to finally exit fight or flight mode. Then we reach the move that acts like an anchor, dragging their false self into the depths. Exposure. To the narcissist, exposure is devastating because they have invested their entire lives in a public-facing mask. They are addicted to status and optics to compensate for their internal void. Exposing them doesn't require a grand, dramatic confrontation. It is often most effective when it is quiet and surgical. For instance, when they attempt to triangulate you or bait you into a toxic conversation, a simple, dispassionate response like, "It is none of my concern," or "This sounds like a private matter, perhaps you should keep it to yourself," acts as a spotlight on their boundary-crossing behavior. By refusing to follow their script, you have exposed their harmful patterns without saying a single mean word. Psychologically, this triggers narcissistic decompensation, a state where their defensive structures fail and they are forced to confront their own obvious incompetence or passive hostility. Maintaining your composure is the secret sauce of exposure. No matter how they squirm or what they say to provoke you, you must maintain a low profile and let the narcissist's own nature reveal itself to the audience. You can even ask a direct, calm question in front of others. Can you explain what you meant by that? If they cannot answer truthfully, their embarrassment and exposure become self-inflicted wounds. This is where you call them out on their funny front, the fake charm they use to manipulate rooms. When you stay calm while they unravel, you are providing a stark contrast that makes their filthy behavior visible to everyone. This is the moment of radical reality testing, where you and the world see the narcissist not as the titan they pretend to be, but as the fragile, insecure child they actually are. Lastly, let them know that you are keeping an eye on them. You don't need to tell them this. You show them. The way you look at them, with the calm, knowing gaze of someone who has broken the code, is enough to send chills down their spines. This isn't a gaze of anger, but a gaze of clarity. When they realize you can see right through their funny front and understand the weakness, incompetence, and deep-seated inferiority hiding behind it, they lose their power. They despise situations in which they lack control, and they despise it even more when someone mows their card by showing them that their psychological tricks have reached their expiration date. This realization alone is sufficient to drive a narcissist insane, as it marks the end of their reign over your mind. The journey out of a narcissistic relationship is a path from darkness into light. It is about realizing that while the narcissist may have occupied your space, they never owned your soul. Reclaiming your life is an act of courage that begins the moment you stop seeking their validation and start trusting your own eyes. If this exploration has helped you find your footing or gave you the clarity you needed today, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell symbol so you never miss our future deep dives. Like this video and share it with anyone who might still be trapped in the fog, wondering if they are the crazy one. Please share your experience in the comments section below. Your story is a bridge that can help someone else cross over to safety. Clarity is the first form of freedom. You are not alone.